Matt Walsh and Nick Carter are partners at Castle Island Ventures. All views expressed by them or the guests on this podcast are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Castle Island Ventures. Guests and hosts may maintain positions in the assets discussed in this podcast. You should not treat any opinion expressed by anyone on this podcast as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their personal opinion. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Brought down by bad mortgage investments, Lehman, which has 25,000 employees, will be liquidated.
The federal government loans American International Group, AIG, $85 billion.
This is a different kind of market, and the Fed is asleep.
The federal government is stepping in to stabilize Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two mortgage giants that have been threatened by the housing crisis.
The Bank of England has pumped £75 billion more into Britain's ailing economy with a new round of quantitative easing.
You print a couple $1 trillion, and all of a sudden, people start to worry. So out of this worry, we have something called the Bitcoin.
Welcome to On the Brink. I'm Matt Walsh.
And I'm Nick Carter.
Recording this one in suboptimal setups on Thanksgiving morning.
I'm meant to be smoking some ribs right now. I don't know. It's like 30 degrees outside. Who knows what temperature those ribs are?
I have an unpopular opinion. I don't think we should be just tied to turkeys for Thanksgiving. I actually don't. I'm a well-known turkey hater.
I feel like that's the very popular opinion these days.
I just don't think, I do have 25 turkeys in my yard, so I think my opinion of turkeys
That's true. You've
clouded my contact. Yeah, they're awful, awful creatures, and I'm not sure it's not a delicacy. They don't taste great unless you're just covering them with butter and gravy.
So, can we talk about the deep fried turkey thing? First of all, I've never met anyone that's deep fried a turkey ever.
No, never had one.
First of all, I don't even think that's a thing. Second of all these PSAs we get every year with the firefighters, and they're like dunking the deep fried turkey into a vat of oil, and then the whole thing catches on fire. It's like, well, of course. Like, obviously, It's a frozen turkey. You're not meant to do that. So naturally, it's going to expel the oil. And then they're like dropping it in with velocity, like with force. And so then it catches on fire, and then they're like, oh, well, we told you. It's like, well, nobody does that.
You would have to be the biggest moron in the world to drop an iced turkey into a deep fryer.
Yeah, and like you're not dropping it from 15 feet either. Like you slowly lower it in. So who are these people that are dunking the turkey in the oil like that?
It must happen. I don't know why we'd have the PSAs other than the firefighters just want to light things on fire sometimes.
I believe that it happens, but also they're getting way too into it.
So we both started our mornings with a run. You did a 10K road race. That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, we do the turkey chase here in Bethesda, and it's a 10K, and I think normally a turkey chase is meant to be a 5K.
Yeah, I did a 5K this morning. Yeah.
So here, there are 3,000 people that do it every year in Bethesda. It's a huge deal. And it's a 10K. Like, you can't get away with just a little, like, you have to run 6.2 miles.
That's a lot for Thanksgiving morning.
It really is. And then you feel kind of wiped out the rest of the day.
I like the idea, though. I like the idea of getting some exercise before your ribs on Thanksgiving. We got to introduce that in my family, the ribs. All right, well, we'll do our normal Thanksgiving rundown here. Maybe we'll do a little bit of who we're thankful for at the end.
Okay, so we will start with the deals, meanwhile. So first up, we have from the Castle Island portfolio, two announcements. Fortify, the wallet infrastructure company, they were acquired by Paxos.
Really excited for Josh and Dima. Great outcome for the Fortify team. And Paxos, really smart acquisition for Paxos too, I think. Paxos building a juggernaut over there.
And lots of wallet infrastructure acquisitions lately.
Definitely. That's a space that's rolling up. All these MPC providers, I think they're, actively consolidating as an industry category. Next one up is Monad, which is an investment of ours. It's a layer 1 blockchain. Last week, they raised $187.5 million on the Coinbase platform in the first token sale in the United States. And then they launched live this week. So congrats to the Monad team.
Yeah, huge week for Monad. Oversubscribed token sale on Coinbase. Launched mainnet, long anticipated mainnet. And I think it went pretty smoothly. Like people weren't even really yelling at them. So
no, I thought it was a great, well-orchestrated sale there.
Yeah. Next up, you have Kalshi, the prediction market. They raised $1 billion from Sequoia, Capital G, A16Z, Paradigm, and others.
Busy week for Kalshi. Did you see they're subject to a class action suit, and they have some litigation going on in Nevada? They have a big relationship with Robinhood. Robinhood announced a separate JV with Susquehanna to launch a new prediction market this week. So Kalshi's having a busy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I don't think the question of whether prediction markets are legal in 50 states has been settled yet.
I don't either.
I don't think it should be, frankly. Not to be a hater, but if gambling is regulated at the state level and it depends on a state-to-state basis, why should prediction markets be exempt?
Yeah, I think the gaming interests are going to have a lot to say about these prediction markets because no doubt it takes money away from the casinos.
Yeah, a huge amount. I mean, it could kind of obliterate the franchise.
All right, next one up is RateX. This is a DeFi yield trading protocol. They raised $7 million from Animoca and GSR.
Then you've Hello Trade. They're a decentralized exchange for tokenized equities. They raised $4 million from Dragonfly and Marana Ventures.
Numerai, which is a decentralized hedge fund, they raised $30 million from Union Square Ventures, Shine Capital, and a number of others. Haven't heard much about Numerai. That was a hot project in the early days.
Yeah, I feel like they've been around for absolutely forever. Lastly, Vector, a mobile crypto wallet, they were acquired by Coinbase.
All right, more in prediction market news. Polymarket received approval from the CFTC to operate as a regulated exchange in the United States. We just see more and more heat here on the prediction market space.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is the reason they were kind of built on crypto, I want to say, is because they were not strictly legal, first and originally.
Well, I think it was a banking issue, right? There's no other way to get cash onto the platform, and stablecoins and Ethereum ended up just being the easiest ways to fund these accounts.
Which is downstream of legality and regulation, right? The banks weren't comfortable. So do they even need to be on blockchains anymore?
I don't think that this UMA protocol for deciding outcomes really works well.
That's going to have to change.
Here's an interesting one. Klarna, which is a payments company focused on buy now, pay later, they announced plans to launch a stablecoin on Stripe's Tempo blockchain. I think you're going to see a lot more of this. The economics of being able to just monetize some of the float for your customers, it makes a ton of sense. So this is probably the first of many.
Yeah, this was, I thought, interesting because you're now starting to see a lot of these fintechs and tech platforms launching their own stablecoins, and a lot of people are sellers of this idea because they think, well, why would you need 50 stablecoins? But for that exact reason that you just raised there, I think there will be this proliferation, which is the desire to internalize the float, the interest on the reserves, as opposed to outsourcing it, handing it all over to some third-party issuer. So I think it makes perfect sense.
I think that's spot on. It's interesting they're doing it with Stripe. I guess Stripe is probably the furthest along in terms of an all-purpose solution here. You get the wallet infrastructure, you get the on and off ramps, and then, of course, the layer 1 blockchain. If I was Visa or MasterCard right now, I would be very threatened by Stripe's Tempo blockchain.
So this was an interesting controversy this week. I don't think we've seen the end of it. There was a report from Unchained saying that in Berachain Series B, there was a full refund right for a $25 million investment from one of the leads, Brevin Howard's Nova Fund. Berachain did push back at this, and it's not entirely clear if this refund right was triggered or not. It looks like maybe it wasn't. But yeah, what did you make of that?
So, yeah, this is the Brevin Howard Nova Fund. It looks like they invested $25 million into the B. The report it was interesting. It was originally going to be on Blockworks. So it's written by Jack Kubinek, and Blockworks shut down their news division, I guess like a week before this was supposed to come out. So Laura Shin and the Unchained team published it. There was a kind of a denial from the leader of Berachain, which is Smokey the Bear.
Smokey.
Yeah, only in crypto. So he kind of rebutted it, but I didn't think it was a very strong rebuttal. I mean, one of the things he said in the rebuttal was the Nova Fund is a liquid fund, and so this was in case we didn't launch a token, they had a refund right. But then, the author of this publish the legal docs, and the legal docs say that you have the refund right for up to a year post-launch of the token.
Yeah.
So if it was just to protect, the downside of not launching a token, why would it be worded that way? So I thought it was it was not a very good response from Berachain. There's also the issue of, was this hidden from the rest of the investors? And I just don't know the answer to that. But if it was, they're going to be in a world of hurt, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that to me as a VC is the main problem, is if some other fund had an MFN in that round and this wasn't disclosed, that's extremely problematic, obviously. But also, why would you, as, an entity that's raising capital, give a full refund right to your lead? That's the thing that mystifies me.
I'm completely baffled why they would do this. And he, Smokey the Bera, every time I say that, it's just like, what a joke. He said something along the lines of they were providing liquidity into the network, and, it was a big strategic relationship, but I still don't know why you'd give the refund right. I mean, if this is really a hot round, just do it without them.
Yeah, if someone's investing and as a condition of their investment, they want a redemption right, a year down, that makes it impossible for you as the recipient of the capital to plan. I mean, your burn could just evaporate based on their arbitrary decision. It doesn't at all seem like a provision you would ever grant to your lead.
You do see some of these in equity financings, especially at the later stage, where they have these ratchets down, or they even have a put right, where if the company doesn't go public in a 3-year time period or something like that, there's a IRR threshold where you basically get your money back plus some interest, some return, but it's all disclosed. And so there you would have no, surface area for having one investor getting it and not the others. So yeah. I think there's going to be more to this story. I mean, the other thing is this asset has just traded straight down since it launched.
Yeah. So you'd think they would actually maybe be inclined to exercise the clause, but I don't know if they could now.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Brevin Howard Nova Fund, they invested 25. What's that worth today? Like 7? I mean,
yeah, Berachain's been a tough launch.
So I would think that you would want to exercise that. Maybe now the PR is just so aggressively hostile towards Brevin and towards Berachain that maybe they wouldn't, but bad luck all around.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Next up, Upbit, the South Korean exchange, they suffered a $37 million hack on a portion of their Solana holdings.
That was just a couple of hours ago, huh?
I was not aware of this until I just saw it in our newsletter.
Yeah, so that just happened. Upbit is, they're turning into one of the bigger players in the world here in terms of offshore exchanges. So hopefully everything's all right with that. Did you see this S&P? Did you know that S&P actually puts out credit ratings on Tether? I had no idea.
Yeah, I actually thought the stablecoins were not rated, so I guess they are. And it seems like the ratings agencies don't like them.
No, it said they have a weak rating. They called out the fact that they have a lot of Bitcoin as part of the backing. What is it, like 5% of the backing is Bitcoin? So they call into question what would happen if Bitcoin, I don't know, goes to zero, I guess would be the risk there. I don't know. Yeah, so this one got a lot of headlines, but I'm not sure how big of a deal it is.
So this, to be clear, is different from their traditional credit ratings. So they have their own proprietary stablecoin rating scale that they created in 2023. It goes from a 1 to a 5, with 5 being the worst. And Tether is now the worst out of 5, which seems pretty harsh, if you ask me. I mean, they're the biggest and the most liquid stablecoin, and they get the worst rating. Like, there's so many worse stablecoins than Tether out there.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that are masquerading, calling themselves stablecoins that just aren't stablecoins. They're basically just tokenized hedge funds, I suppose. But Tether's not Genius compliant, so I guess it would be easy to say, they're weak relative to like a Circle or, Paxos or someone like that.
Yeah, so Tether didn't like that, understandably. So as you mentioned before, Robinhood is launching a JV with Susquehanna to launch a new prediction market. So they acquired MyAxDX, which is a rebrand of LedgerX. So how is this going to work? Does this mean that Robinhood is going to end their partnership? Is it with Kalshi or Polymarket? I've forgotten who they're partnered with.
Robinhood has just a ton of retail flow here. And so you would think that they're driving a lot of value to Kalshi and in some cases, I think Polymarket. I could see this being very successful. Susquehanna is one of the bigger market makers in the space, maybe the biggest in the prediction market space. Robinhood probably has the most retail flow of any brokerage that's gone into this category. Like you don't see prediction markets on Schwab or Fidelity.com yet, I would say, right? Like I would be really surprised if Schwab at least doesn't go in that direction at some point soon. And this to me just looks like Robinhood wanting to monetize like a broader part of that stack as opposed to giving all the upside to Kalshi and Polymarket. So I could see this being, kind of a home run. I thought it was interesting that LedgerX, which was previously owned by FTX, and then it was absorbed by MyAx, that this is part of the equation. It shows you that DCM, DCO infrastructure really matters.
Yeah, it does make me think that maybe the moat, I know we talked about a Kalshi fundraise this week, maybe the moat is less than it was thought, around Kalshi and Polymarket. Is there, a secret sauce to building a prediction market, or is it actually pretty straightforward?
Well, I don't know. I think there's value in owning the customer, obviously, and Robinhood just has a ton of customers. At this point, Polymarket does too, but they're going to have to spend a lot more to get to the Robinhood size in terms of their customer base. Same thing with Kalshi. My guess is Kalshi has a lot fewer customers than either of those companies. So there's value at the customer level, and there's definitely value on the retail side, right? Like you make so much money servicing that retail flow. And then there's obviously value on the licenses and doing this in a compliant way. We've seen Polymarket make some big acquisitions to try to get regulated in the US. And I think Robinhood is just in a really good spot here. So seems like a really smart move. It's going to be mostly controlled by Robinhood, it looks like, this joint venture. So, you wonder to some extent, will they be able to put enough capital to work in this to get bigger? But one thing they don't need is to go out and just buy a bunch of new customers because they already have all the retail customers.
So I have one request for any of the prediction markets right now, which none of them have made this market, and I need the market to exist.
What's that?
So if they're listening, if they could go ahead and do this. I need a market for if there is a quantum break of various strengths of SHA or of ECC 256 or various elliptic curve bit strengths between now and kind of 2035 so that we can get a sense.
It's a great idea.
So I need to know what the market thinks about a full break by 2030 so that you can hedge, right? So if there is a break, presumably Bitcoin goes down, but if you're long the market, maybe you're even.
Well, what do you want as your settlement currency? Do you want bars of gold to settle the trade?
That's what I was thinking about. It's, at that point, we're in quantum world and, all electronic communications are compromised. So, yeah it's going to have to be in physical bullion, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're not going to want crypto. You're not going to want Bank of America dollars. I mean, you're just going to want something physical. Maybe
we're going to have to do gold
racks
ingots.
of ribs.
So, like, if Kalshi or Polymarket want to make that for me, that would be great. I don't know. Is there, like, an official form or something? But that's the market I need.
Yeah, someone will have that up within a week, I bet. In other news this week, NASDAQ is seeking approval from the SEC to quadruple daily trading limits tied to options on BlackRock's Upbit Bitcoin ETF. I didn't realize that this market was growing so quickly, but NASDAQ, a quadruple, that's a big number.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ETFs are going to, if not already, are going to be doing way more volume than spot Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And next up, U.S. Bancorp is testing a new stablecoin product on the Stellar blockchain, of all places.
A couple interesting pieces this week. I enjoyed Cambridge Associates had a very data-driven approach to the blockchain and crypto venture fund landscape, so we'll put that in our newsletter. And then the Information had a good piece. Visa and Mastercard are moving fast into stablecoins. I would say they're not moving fast enough, though. That's kind of where I stand on that.
I mean, they've both been working in the stablecoin space for 4 to 5 years. They've been piloting stablecoin stuff since 2021. But
they have
not much of their stack runs on stablecoins, which is, I would say, very different from Stripe, for instance, where Stripe is actually moving money around internally on stablecoins. And
yeah, I think that's right. I think you're just going to have to see more M&A, though, out of these bigger card network actors, Visa and Mastercard. Obviously, Mastercard's gone down the path with Zero Hash. We'll see. I don't think that's a closed deal yet. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes, and then, Visa makes any moves.
All right, so we have 10 minutes left, and as it is Thanksgiving, and frankly, we're both being delinquent with our Thanksgiving responsibilities, we have to do our annual Who We're Thankful For. I've prepared a list.
Oh, interesting. I have a small little list, too.
Who are you thankful for this year, Matt?
Well, I think this has been a big year at the SEC. We have leaders and just people that work at the SEC that have done so much this year in terms of just righting some of the wrongs. So I'm very thankful to leadership at the SEC with Commissioner Atkins and Ueda and Peirce and really the whole surrounding cast. I mean, really since the administration changed hands here, we've had just a kind of an outpouring of activity, and the crypto working group is up and running. They're actually, people are going in and talking to the SEC for the first time in 4 years. It's a very healthy environment, I would say. Come in and talk to us doesn't mean come in and we're going to put handcuffs on you anymore. So very thankful that we have public servants that are actually trying to promote capital formation in this industry.
When I was thinking about this, I was like, who is it that I really admire and just fills me with these warm feelings? And there was only just one choice, and it's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
Oh, Bessent. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Bessent. So why am I thankful for him? First of all, he dunked on Liz Warren on Twitter, which was great. He's by far the most competent member of Trump's cabinet, and I feel like we're actually in safe hands with him, and he has a very hard job. He constantly says nice things about Bitcoin, which he doesn't have to do. He is embracing stablecoins explicitly. And he saved Argentina, he saved Argentina. And ensured that the libertarian revolution in Argentina continues. So Scott Bessent is my first choice this year.
I think Scott Bessent could go out and raise a stablecoin fund very easily. He actually tells the story about stablecoins probably better than anyone in the industry, us included.
Yeah, he's just doing a great job.
All right, my next one, I might have done this one last year as well, but I'm going to put Zach XBT and just the cast of characters that does on-chain sleuthing, because I think we need more of this. And I think this is a public good. So identifying these nefarious actors on blockchains, calling them into the light, doing investigations. This is sort of the next generation of where this industry needs to go from a product perspective, I think. And right now we just have a bunch of lone wolves out there finding these bad actors, tweeting about them. This is just a very net positive for the whole industry, and people should really be thankful for folks like Zach XBT and others.
My next one is the Monad team. So, of course, we're investors in Monad, so full disclosure. But I want to thank them not just for pulling off a great launch and launching a blockchain and all those things, but specifically for showing the world that you don't need Binance to launch your coin. And anybody that works in tokens or on the VC side knows exactly what I'm talking about in terms of Binance extracting their pound of flesh from any token that wants to list with them. And it honestly has to change. And I think Monad showed the world that you don't need them. And I think that is actually going to be a real changing of the guard moment when, it'll be possible to avoid that kind of necessary extortion that virtually every token goes through. So thank you, Monad.
Yeah, I think this is a great one, and we should be clear that we don't have any inside knowledge, and we haven't asked for any details on how Monad has engaged with Binance, but just what we've seen in our dealings in other projects is Binance is very, very extractive in terms of demanding big portions of total float in order to list the token. And what ends up happening is they just end up airdropping it to their VIP users or keeping it themselves and dumping. So it's just a super extractive venue for token launches. And to see Monad go out so strong without Binance, which is, Binance is what, like 70% of spot volume on certain assets here. So to be able to have that perform without Binance is huge. And we gotta figure out this Binance thing from a market structure perspective. These guys are just really, really bad actors in certain categories.
Something has to change.
All right, my last one is I am thankful for the listeners. The listeners keep this thing going. So just all of the people that listen to this podcast who chirp us when it's not out. I think it was delayed last week. Did you know that? On certain platforms. Yeah, I was getting people that use Spotify were saying it didn't come out till much later in the day on Friday. But the fact that we have listeners that will ping us and tell us that is great. So thank you to everyone that listens to every episode of this thing.
Yeah, and to be clear, this isn't like NPR where we're like supported by the listeners. They do not support us. They don't pay us ever. So we are supported in the sense that if we don't put out the episode, we get yelled at. So it's kind of a negative relationship, but we are. Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I guess we're two. I would classify us as business people, but this is not a business. To drive home.
Certainly is not. And then my last one is Artemis, the Artemis team. You guys do a good job with the stablecoins. And they did a report with us this year on the stablecoin volumes, which was very useful, I think. Really, for the first time, told the story of who is using stablecoins for what. And they did all the hard work. So thank you.
Yeah, just an awesome report. So I think we'll be leaning on the Artemis team and others in the years to come here just to quantify some of the growth we're seeing. Are you thankful for stablecoins? I thought you would have said you're thankful for stablecoins, US dollars on blockchains.
I like that we have them. Yeah. I have to admit something. I asked chat, who, just to who are the main people in stablecoins? Obviously I know, but I asked chat, and chat was like, well, if you're doing a thankful for list, you have to thank yourself.
Oh, wow. Nick Carter.
It actually said this, and I can prove it. I'll send you the chat history. And it's that would be the most conceited thing. And I think so they turned the sycophant quotient up to 1,000. Because that's an insane thing to say. It's who should I thank? Thank yourself.
Thank yourself. Back in 2020, when you're trying to call these stablecoins crypto dollars, you really started.
Chat told me to thank myself. Believe it or not.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Well, I think that is a wrap. Thanks to everyone for listening. We'll be back next week. We got to go back to the meal prep right now. How are those ribs?
Yeah,
doing?
I have some ribs. The ribs are cold. Undoubtedly very cold at this point.
All right, everyone. We'll have a great Thanksgiving and a safe and healthy weekend, and we will see you on Monday.